To the insurance company that did me wrong. I've moved on and am happily insured with another. Bless your pea-picking heart. It was just never meant to be betwixt us. You gave me automobile insurance apprehension, and Geico has come along and in just 15 minutes given me new car insurance and made me as jubilant as a newborn lamb in springtime. And Pa has given Geico his approval. That's one thing you never had. Joyful with another. Clara May in Columbia.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Blog Talk Radio.
We are the UR Tennis Network. Our mission is to be the voice of tennis. We enlist a team of passionate enthusiasts to promote our sport. We strive to bring interesting perspectives on the many spins of tennis. Our goal is to provide the learners of our sport with current news and information from many angles. We seek active participation from communities interested in tennis, but tennis is not interested in them. We are expanding our outreach. Tennis is a true lifetime sport that needs to be talked about, and the UR Tennis Network pledges to pursue this idea relentlessly.
Good morning and welcome to the Parenting Aces radio show on Blog Talk Radio's UR Tennis Network. I'm your host, Lisa Stone, and today we are going to be talking with Evan Zeder of New Balance about the upcoming New Balance High School Tennis Championships. The interview that I did with Evan, we actually pre-recorded last week due to some scheduling conflicts for both of us today. So, unfortunately, we won't be able to take any callers during today's show. However, I did get a question for Evan emailed to me, and I was able to get an answer to it. So let me just give you that information up front, and then we will jump right to the interview with Evan. The question was regarding verification that entrants into this high school tournament had actually played high school tennis during the 2014-2015 school year. And I thought that was a really good question, and I can't believe I forgot to ask it of Evan, but I did forward it to Bill Mountford of USTA because USTA is ultimately in charge of the tournament and in charge of player selection for the tournament. And I just want to read to you Bill's reply to my question. Bill says, our verification process is a painstaking one. We scrutinize each entrant and get verification that he or she participated in team high school matches. Typically, we rely on Google for local stories to verify participation during the 2014-2015 school year, but last year we also relied on our USTA TSRs for local eyeball confirmation. So I want to just confirm with all of you that USTA does go to great lengths to verify that everyone playing in this event has actually played for their school during the prior school year. Bill went on to say that last year there were a few players who did try to enter without adherence to this basic entry guideline. And USTA has felt very strongly that this particular tournament, this New Balance High School Tennis Championships, be only for high school players and not just high school aged players. There's a big difference there. So everyone who is chosen to play in the tournament must have played for their high school team and played in a team match during the 2014-2015 school year. So just wanted to clarify that for those of you listening and those of you thinking about making the trip to Boston this summer. And with that, I am going to jump right to the interview. I hope you enjoy hearing my interview with Evan Zeder of New Balance regarding the New Balance High School Tennis Championships.
Today's the day you score a perfect 10. Because when you're standing on the edge of that diving board, ready to wow your kid in the ultimate belly flop contest, you're not worried about how much you pay for Pool Shock. Because you went to Walmart and got a 6-pack of new Clorox Pool and Spa Shock Extra Blue 1-pound bottles for just $25.97. It kills algae and dissolves fast. Meaning you can quickly go from pool boy to belly flopper extraordinaire. So take on your pool today. Save money. Live better. Walmart.
Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the Parenting Aces radio show on Blog Talk Radio's UR Tennis Network. I'm your host, Lisa Stone, and we have a great show for you today. We are going to be talking with Evan Zeder about the New Balance High School Tennis Championships, which is entering its second year this year. The event is held in July in Boston at the Harvard University campus, and last year was the inaugural event. We had a couple folks from the event come on this show last year to talk about it, and I've done a couple follow-up pieces on the 2014 tournament. So I'm excited to talk to Evan and hear more about what's in store for 2015. Before I bring Evan on the line, I want to go to a quick commercial, and when we come back, Evan Zeder with New Balance.
Warning. Orthopedic surgeons are seeing an increase in overuse injuries when young athletes perform the same repetitive stressful motions over and over. Pitching, tennis, weight training, even long swimming workouts can cause overuse trauma that may require surgery. If your kids play and train hard, visit orthoinfo.org or stopsportsinjuries.org. A message from the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons and the American Orthopedic Society for Sports Medicine.
Welcome back to the Parenting Aces radio show on Blog Talk Radio's UR Tennis Network. I'm your host, Lisa Stone, and I am so thrilled to be chatting with Evan Zeder of New Balance today. Let me bring Evan on the line. And Evan, are you there?
I'm here.
Thanks so much for joining us today and giving me the opportunity to just pick your brain about this year's New Balance High School Tennis Championships. I know last year's event was a huge success, and this year looks to be growing and including even more opportunities for the players. So I would love for you to just give a quick overview of the tournament, and then I'm going to just pepper you with questions if that's okay.
Yeah, not a problem. Thanks for having me on, and just personally, I think you're doing an awesome job. So really great to see someone as involved and passionate about the sport and really helping a bunch of people. So definitely love that. When it comes to the tournament itself, Bruce Schilling, who's our general manager of tennis, he really came with this concept and talked to the USTA and wanted to have an event just for the high school players. And so he started it, the inaugural tournament, as you know, was last year, and that was a huge success. And really for Bruce, his goal for me and challenge was to improve off of what they did last year. And if you know what they did last year and all the things they did around the tournament for the event and for the kids, I mean, it definitely was challenging, but I think we raised the stakes again this year. And I know from personal experience, having played junior tennis, high school tennis, college tennis, and having gone around to just about every tournament in the country, I'm really excited to be a part of it this year, and I think that it's going to be one of the events out there that really tops, most of the national tournaments. So I know that's a lot to say, but with all the things we've been working on, we're pretty excited about it.
That's fantastic. And so explain to our listeners what your role is with New Balance and also with the tournament.
So my role, I'm the sports marketing manager globally for New Balance Tennis. So I work on, when it comes to servicing all of our athletes with their product, with how they're positioned going into tournaments and with their full kits from head to toe. And then in addition to that, I work with the new athletes that we're signing, obviously talking with all of the different agents and scouting and figuring out which athletes we think are not only going to be successful, but that fit into the New Balance brand. And then when it comes to the tournament, I'm working heavily, every week on the event itself. I don't really know what my exact title would be for the tournament. I just know from the New Balance perspective, I'm taking care of, we are hosting the event and running the event, so the USTA is presenting it, and so working with them and making sure that kind of all of the pieces come together as the tournament starts.
And what's the goal of the event? Because this is something that when New Balance teamed with USTA last year, it was really a kind of thinking outside the box concept. And I know Bruce had come on this show last year to talk about it. And USTA seems to be making a big push toward expanding its offerings to those kids who typically have only played high school tennis and haven't ventured outside the high school sort of parameters to play more, and I'm using air quotes here, regular tournaments throughout the year. So can you talk about what you're trying to accomplish with this event?
I mean, I think the biggest thing we're trying to accomplish is to make sure that the players and the kids have one of the best experiences they've ever had at a tennis tournament. I think, it's twofold. One side of it is we definitely want the players to have that professional feel. I mean, we're going to have a lot of different people monitoring the event. We're going to make sure that it's very well organized. The USTA does an unbelievable job with hosting the actual site and making sure that everything is completely on par with what we're trying to accomplish and making sure that these kids feel like they're really playing in a professional tournament. On the other side, we just want it to be fun. We want these kids to have an experience where they go on court and they have a really great match, and then when they finish up, they have experiences off court. I mean, I know, and I'm sure you've probably been to some zonal tournaments, and I always felt like those were some of my favorite tournaments to play, the zonals and the Davis Cup, because while that's more of a team environment, you actually get to know some of the players that you're competing against day to day. And I think that one of the things, and that's one of the reasons we love high school tennis as well, because you're playing with all different levels and you have that bonding experience. And that's what we really want to create, is to have really competitive tennis during the day. And then at night, we're trying to do special events that just create a unique experience for the kids. I mean, again, the tournament is all about the young players and the high school tennis players. So, I think that high school tennis can kind of sometimes, as players get better, high school tennis can become a little bit of an afterthought. For us, it's important to really push high school tennis because those are the players that are playing for the rest of their lives. And everyone I talk to, from going on and playing college tennis and still playing and being around the sport, you always get I played high school tennis. And so really to have a premier event around a great part of, a person's playing career is what we're trying to accomplish.
It's funny because there's been a lot of talk about the fact that there's no national high school tennis championship anymore. And part of the reason behind that seems to be because each state has its own rules around high school sports. And, some states you play in the fall, some you play in the spring, some you play both fall and spring, some have individual competition in addition to the team, and some don't. So it's a little bit reminiscent of the issues with the different sections in USTA and how things are, so different section to section. But I think it's nice that USTA and New Balance both have recognized the need to bring these high school players together at a national level event and give them the opportunity to compete against their peers across the country. It's very cool. You mentioned that one of the goals is to have fun off the court, to offer experiences off the court. I know you guys have some cool stuff planned this year. Can you share with us some of those things that are in the works?
Yeah, I mean, I know the first night, when the kids sign up, we're going to be fitting them with shoes. They're going to be getting a really great welcome package, which I'm finishing next week. I just know it's going to be, as far as welcome packages go, I don't think anybody's going to come close to what we're going to be doing for the kids. And then, one of the nights we're going to have a welcome dinner. We'll probably have a speaker at it, and we're going to just kind of introduce the tournament and talk about what we're trying to do for all these players. One of the other nights, we're going to take these kids to Blue Man Group, which is really cool and definitely something that I never did at a tennis tournament, that's for sure. And just a unique experience. And when you come to a major city like Boston, I mean, that's where some of these performances happen. And so we wanted to do something really fun and interactive. While it's a show, I know those Blue Man Group shows are supposed to get pretty crazy. And then the other night, we're going to take them to Fenway Park. So New Balance has a relationship with the Boston Red Sox. So we're going to take them. They have this really cool area along the third base line right next to the Green Monster. Where we're going to spend some time, have some food, and then we're either going to take a tour of the park. Right now I'm going back and forth with which tour is going to be better for all of those kids, but we're going to either take a tour of the whole park or go to the batting cages or something really fun. So, like I said, the goal is to have really great tennis during the day, and then at night, we want these kids to make friends and have just an unbelievable experience.
One of the things that I think is so cool about this tournament is the format of play for the tournament. It's not just a one and done or lose and get relegated to the back draw. Can you share with us, how you guys are running the actual matches?
Yeah, it's a compass draw. So every kid is guaranteed to have 4 matches. Sometimes with national tournaments, they won't do that. I know they do them for like 12 and unders and maybe sometimes with 14 and unders. But because we're having kids playing, we already have 34 states that have applied this year. Last year we had 33 states that came in, and so we had a kid from Alaska. We have applicants from Hawaii this year. So really, with it being a true national event and making sure that we have kids represented from as many states as possible, there will be some varying level of play, but we're making sure that every kid has the opportunity to, play a bunch of matches and just get that experience on court of that being a part of a premier event.
Is it singles and doubles or just singles?
Just singles.
Okay.
Singles.
And it's the event is for boys and for girls, and it's 18 and under. So if a kid is in 7th or 8th grade but played on their high school team, if I'm not mistaken, they're eligible to enter this event, right?
Correct. Yep. So it's basically we'll go off their UTR rating, but as far as applicants, that's the other thing that's unique about it. I played high school tennis. I was able to play high school tennis in 7th and 8th grade, and and a lot of these kids that are playing at that level and playing varsity, and especially for some really good 7th and 8th graders, they're going to play at a pretty high level on their high school team. So, we wanted the opportunity to open it up to everyone who competes playing high school tennis.
And just to clarify, the player has to have played on their high school team during the 2014-2015 season, correct?
Yeah, they have to have played high school tennis, correct.
Okay. Because I know last year it was really disappointing for my son because he had chosen to take the year off from high school tennis, so he wasn't eligible for the tournament. And now this year, it's the timing's just not going to work. But too bad. But I will say I think our state of Georgia was well represented last year, and I'm sure it will be again this year. So that's cool to see.
Yeah, and I think I think it's tough. I don't think every kid's going to have a chance to play, but that's the fact is that high school tennis does take a lot of time, and again, it's rewarding the players that are competing out there.
Right. Now, let's talk nitty-gritty of the event, the dates and how somebody applies. Can you share that with us?
So the dates are July 20th to July 23rd, and they can apply just by going to, I believe it's NBTennisChampionships.com. I think that's the website. Sorry if I'm completely, NBTennisChampionship.com. And
I know it's in TennisLink too, right?
Yeah, it's in TennisLink, so they can go there. But we'd like them to go to NBTennisChampionships.com because it takes them to, it kind of shows a little bit more about the event, gives them an idea of what we're trying to do, and then there's links there to go onto TennisLink and to apply.
Got it. And what's the entry fee this year?
You just caught me on a question that I don't know the answer to.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, we'll come back to that.
No, don't apologize. That's something I should know. So I'm not 100% sure. Sorry about that.
Okay, no worries. We'll find that information. Or better yet, listeners, just go to nbtennischampionships.com and you can find that information yourself. I will say that regardless of what the entry fee is, the player gift, I mean, holy cow, that more than makes up for whatever it's going to cost to enter the tournament. And I think it's amazing that New Balance is being so generous with these kids.
Yeah, I can promise you that we will make up the entry fee and more.
And is it a 64 draw? Is that right?
Yeah, 64 draw,
okay.
Boys and girls. Correct.
Got it. Okay. And another kind of unique facet of this tournament is that the winner on both the boys and the girls side gets a pretty cool perk. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, the winner of the event will get a wild card into the ITF tournament. The actual tournament name is it's the Prince George's County International Hardcourt Junior Tennis Championships. It takes place August 24th and through the 30th, and I did not read that. That's in College Park, Maryland. But the International Hardcourts, I think the opportunity to play at an event like that, and that's a warm-up tournament. You have a lot of kids that come over and play that event getting ready to play the U.S. Open juniors. So you're going to have some of the best competition out there. I know the boy that won our event last year actually got the wild card, and I don't think he had ever played in an ITF tournament and made the quarterfinals. So we were really excited about that. He might have reached around 16. But anyway, he did a great job, and I think it's exciting to have an event where a reward is a wild card into a big tournament. And obviously, in College Park, they do a great job out there. They have a great facility, and that's really where you're going to have some of the best players in the world come out and play a big tournament before the U.S. Open.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I do want to just point out to listeners, though, that the player has to be ITF junior eligible, which means that they have to be born 97 or later. So if the player's like my kid, who was a 96, he's still eligible for juniors, but not for ITF juniors, just something to keep in mind. And so I just want to make sure everybody, full disclosure.
Yeah, no, you're on it. You're on it. The ITF, I guess, goes on those rules. I had a November birthday growing up, so that was not fun.
That's a terrible birthday.
Changed some of those. Terrible. I mean, my mom's a tennis mom. She came from a tennis family. You would think she'd plan things out a little bit better.
Oh, too funny. Well, talk to us a little bit more about what New Balance's involvement, other than this phenomenal prize package that you guys are giving to all the players, what is your involvement in the event, and do you see this event kind of springboarding into more events throughout the year, or do you think New Balance will just limit to this one summer event?
I think right now, for the immediate future, everything's focused on this event. I mean, you're going to see some things different than we did last year. I mean, we're going to have on-site, obviously there's going to be branding and different opportunities, but one of the cool things we're doing this year, which, again, I get jealous kind of seeing some of the things we're doing and looking back at my junior days and just saying, why did we not have a tournament like this? We're going to have a players' lounge that just players are going to be allowed into. In that, we're also going to work on doing a customization. I'm in the works of getting all this finalized, but we're going to try to get a customization opportunity where the players will get shirts and backpacks and on-site actually customize, whether it's their name or a couple different logo options or different things, backpacks and some T-shirts, and we're gonna be doing some really unique things. And I know that personally, whenever something has your name on it, you just wear it with a little bit more pride.
For sure. That's very cool. And we haven't even talked about the fact that these kids are going to be playing at Harvard on the courts, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's touch on that aspect of the tournament a little bit. What it means to bring high school players onto an elite college campus and have the opportunity to play on college courts. And I suspect there will be some college coaches present during the event.
Yeah, I mean, well, with Boston having a million different colleges around the area, I think you're going to have a lot of college coaches coming out and watching. So there's going to be a great opportunity for recruiting. And obviously Boston is one of the best college cities in the country. And, you know, the cream of the crop is Harvard. You know, for a lot of kids to play in that event and to play at Harvard, it's a really cool experience. I know the only opportunity I would have had to play at Harvard would be because of this tournament, because I'm not smart enough to play there. But you know, I think it's a really, really unique, and it's got a great feel. And we're going to be doing a lot of things on site. I mean, the seating is great for parents to watch and for fans to watch. They have a lot of opportunities to just get your kid out there and really have great viewing, which sometimes is difficult at junior tournaments. So, you know, one of the things they have is on their windscreens. I mean, they're very transparent on the bottom. So you're actually able to watch your kids and not peek through a fence. So, I mean, for me, those are, you know, it's small things that people, I think, sometimes take for granted when you go to a site until you're the one that's trying to watch the player. And you're sitting there looking through a fence, trying to get a couple points in. So I think the event itself, being at, you know, Harvard's facility and being a part of that, you know, that brand too is pretty special.
And I know the Harvard head coach, Dave Fish, the men's head coach, I should clarify, is going to be joining us in a few minutes. And so I'll ask him some of the more detailed questions about Harvard's involvement. But and I think he's going to share with us as well more details on the selection process for the tournament. But Evan, do you know how the players will be selected? Because at this point, you guys already have close to, like 120 kids have signed up already, right?
We have 209 kids that have applied.
200.
Yeah.
So already, you know, there are definitely going to be some kids that don't get selected for the tournament. Do you know how the selection process is going to work? Is it going to be based on ranking, on rating, on location, all of the above?
It's going to be, kind of all of the above. I mean, it's going to be based on primarily off the UTR system, because we feel very confident in that system, and it's proven again and again and again that it gives great analysis when it comes to the players and is very fair. And then obviously geographically will also be considered because, you know, like I said, we had a kid from Alaska who's not going to be able to compete in all of the tournaments year round. But we want to make sure that we have as many states represented. I mean, it's a big part of the event itself is to have top high school players from all the states.
So do you know if let's say there are 10 applicants from a particular state, will the top 2 or 3 based on UTR be the ones who are selected? Is that how that will work?
You know, the USTA is working through most of that stuff, but I would imagine it's going to be something similar to that.
Okay. All right. Because, like I said, I know we have multiple applicants from Georgia. We did last year as well, and I suspect that the eastern states are, you know, going to have more applicants than the states where kids really have to travel a long way. So
I mean, well, the other thing with the event too is because it is a high school tennis tournament. Using USTA rankings or tennis recruiting or things like that, those ratings are tougher because they're all based on whether it's grade level or, you know, age 18s, you know, 16s, 14s. UTR takes all of that out and just has one big ranking. So it makes it a lot more efficient for us when you're trying to find the players who competed in high school tennis.
Sure. Okay, so I want to just kind of veer off track a little bit, just because one of the things that I love to do with Parenting Aces is talk about what tennis can offer to our kids once they're done playing tennis. And I think it's really cool that you have parlayed your junior and collegiate tennis into this position with New Balance. So would you mind giving us a little bit of history on how you wound up at New Balance and how you feel like that fits in with your lifelong involvement in the sport?
Yeah, I mean, where do I start? It was a rainy day. No, I'm just kidding. No, my mom, I had an uncle that played college tennis at Notre Dame. One played at Michigan. Another played at Bowling Green. So my mom raised us as a big tennis family. Now, all the guys, my mom's one of 7, so all the guys on the family played college tennis. The girls all played competitively, but not at college. So I think my mom literally raised my brother and I to beat her brothers. So, like, when we finally beat my uncle, it was like the biggest deal ever. So when I started getting involved in tennis, I played all the junior tournaments, played college tennis at Illinois, and really, played under a coach in Craig Tiley, who is now CEO of Tennis Australia, and kind of just, he had a lot of big picture things and taught us a lot in school. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do while I was in school. I knew I loved branding. I mean, I'll say as soon as, our shipments came in for the Illinois product and those things, I mean, I've always was really passionate about it, and I've always just loved sports in general. And so I ended up after college, I moved to Chicago and just got a job doing commercial real estate. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but my boss played college tennis there at Wisconsin, and he hired me, and I just knew with an athletic background that I was going to work hard, and I was going to try to see whatever fit with me. And I did that for about a year, a lot of cold calling, and it wasn't really something that I was passionate about. A friend of mine, college teammate of mine, and one of my close friends, Michael Calkin, called me when I was at work in Chicago and said that they were thinking about starting up a brand. And they started, and it was Athletic DNA. And so I was there for about 5-6 years, maybe a little bit longer. And Bruce, I'd worked with Bruce while at Athletic DNA and helped really kind of build the brand up. And, we worked a lot with junior tennis players and went to a lot of different events and started, going and working with pros and seeing that side of the business. And Bruce had become the GM of New Balance and really I really enjoyed working with Bruce, and I think the feeling was mutual. And so he had spoken to me about coming on board at New Balance, and it was a really good opportunity for me. I mean, the brand itself is just doing very, very well. And for the first time, I mean, New Balance was a brand that was really endorsed by no one up until about 5 years ago. And then they started getting heavy into baseball and started working with athletes. And, one of the things with New Balance is they want to become a big brand in tennis. And obviously bringing Bruce on board and his background, that was a big piece and a big selling point for me, is that you have a brand that has the history of New Balance and the reputation of New Balance that wants to get into tennis and get into it the right way. And so for me, it's just, that's kind of a little bit of my path. Sorry to just blab on a little bit there, but that's really where I've kind of come in, is just working with, always being involved in tennis, and my path kind of took me here, which is pretty exciting.
Well, I think it's very interesting to talk to people like you who are, you're a young guy. You obviously are passionate about the game. It comes out, so clearly in listening to you speak, and that you found a way to parlay that into a way to make a living. And, I just think that's awesome. And I think it's important for the parents listening to this show to understand that, the gifts of tennis keep giving and giving and giving, and I say this and I write about it over and over and over again, but, hearing it from somebody like you really reinforces that message that this is a game, this is a sport that offers so many opportunities to its participants. And I tell the story all the time about my dad, who's 77 years old and still plays singles 3 times a week with the guy he's been playing since the 12s, and they were on the national championship team together at Tulane. And I mean, it's an amazing thing. I have a brother who played college tennis, and I was laughing as you were telling the story about your mom raising you and your brother to beat your uncles. The day my son beat his uncle was a very big day, so I get that.
Yeah. Oh, are you kidding me? Oh, when my brother is older than me, when he beat my Uncle John the first time, and that was before, cell phones were just getting going, but I swear, as soon as the match was over, my mom was on the phone calling her entire family. I mean, because my brother beat him at about, probably a year before he should have, and I don't know if my uncle was sick or wasn't feeling well that day, but, it was a huge, huge deal.
Sure.
Yeah,
That's so funny.
I mean, it's just, but tennis is a very, while it offers a lot of opportunities, it's a very small world, too. I mean, you make a couple phone calls and you're going to know someone in the tennis world. You're going to have people that know that person, and you find out very quickly that it's a really small world. And I do talk to people who have talked to me and asked me questions about how I got involved and all those things. I mean, what it really comes down to is finding something that, for me, I was passionate about the sport. I was passionate about athletics, and maybe not to a level where I wanted to coach, but I knew I wanted to be involved. And so I knew that if I just came in and did something that I was passionate about, that it's a lot easier to work hard. I mean, that's
Sure.
really what it is. And there's no real secret as far as if you just, if you're able to kind of work at some of these things and you do something that you're excited about, I mean, it's just going to be a lot easier.
Sure. All right, well, let's jump back into the New Balance High School Tennis Championships. And, again, let's go back into some of the details of the event. The registration's open now, obviously, since you have over 200 people already signed up.
Yeah.
Do you know when the entry deadline is?
I believe it's the 18th or the 19th. It would be this month.
Okay, of June. I'm just pulling it up. I know I posted something yesterday on our Facebook page, so I was just looking to go back to that to make sure I give the right information. And so, again, to register, people just need to go to your website. Okay, here, let's see. The deadline's June 18th. So there we go. Right. Okay, and to get to the event, if you go to nbtennischampionship.com, that's the website, and there are links there to all the information you need, including some mandatory forms and the dates and link to registration. I'm just looking on here. So the dates of the event again are.
We tried to put as much information. It's the 20th to the 23rd. So registration will be on the 19th, and so I mean we try to put as much as we can on the site to give all the information. We spent a lot of time kind of showing some of the things we've done. I mean, we showed some of the trophies and then some of the the swag bags that kids got last year, and and it has information about travel. It has the forms on there. It shows the format. I mean, there's really all you need to know about the event, other than listening to this and your podcast or interview is on the website.
Okay, great. And I see Dave Fish has called in. I'm going to pull Dave on the line. Dave, are you with us?
I am, Lisa. Thank you for having me. This is great. I love the idea of talking about this tournament because it was sensational.
It was. Y'all did a great job last year, and I'm sure it's going to be bigger and better this year.
Yeah, could I interrupt before saying, do I know correctly that your son's team won the state championship? Did that happen? Did I read far enough?
Yeah, that did happen.
Congratulations. That must have been fun. That's terrific.
Congratulations, Lisa. Why are we talking to Dave and I? We should be talking about your son's championship.
Well, Lisa, I think it kind of leads into why I was delighted to speak about it, because this tournament really is the brainchild of Bruce Schilling, who's an old friend. And the big overriding message of this is that high school tennis matters. And, we've got 345,000 kids conservatively that are all keen and playing in their programs and having experiences like your son. And New Balance actually had the foresight to say, we'd like to put a signature on this so that people know that we value it. And so we were really excited when Bruce came to us and said, we'd love to showcase it at your beautiful facility, because we do have a lovely facility. And that New Balance's commitment to it has been terrific. And they, as Evan said, they had a lot of great swag. So the kids were kind of drooling. And we also love it that they were smart enough to insist on using universal tennis ratings, because as you and I both know, Lisa, it put so many good matches together. The kids came away with a great experience of playing very competitive matches. The seeds held up beautifully. So at a lot of levels, we love it. The kids leave the tourney saying this was the best national event they'd ever played. And my tagline is, wouldn't it be great if kids all over the country could experience level-based play like this using universal tennis ratings and have a great experience the way we'd like, the way all the kids that come to the New Balance event do.
What's so cool is kind of the chain of events that this tournament started last summer, and by integrating UTR in the event, and then UTR really making the push to include high school tennis matches in its ratings this year, now even more kids have a stronger UTR and have increased their chances of getting selected into the 2015 New Balance event. So I just think that's so awesome. And as you know, Dave, I've been making a big push all year for high school players to make sure their coach or the team parent or whoever is submitting their team results from their high school matches so they can be included in UTR and can have an opportunity to play in this fantastic tournament this summer.
Yes, and I think that efforts like yours, Lisa, and New Balance's begin to tell high school players that you can really, once you know that you're rated in universal tennis ratings, you know that you really have become a full citizen in American tennis, that you're no longer sort of on the outs. And in terms of looking at college programs and tennis on campus programs, you're very soon going to be able to say, hey, where do I fit? What's a good fit for me? And as we said about universal, it's not a way to judge a person's potential or character or sportsmanship or anything, but it is a great way to begin to get kids to be able to look at the right level of college, to be able to look at a rival high school team the way we look at a rival college. At every level, it has something that makes the kids' experience better, and so. Yeah, I think New Balance their commitment to it has shown it's a tipping point issue, and it's done so much to showcase the need for a gradual transition toward more level-based play. So instead of kids jumping through hoops to get points, they really can say, if I play the right event where I can get the right competition, that goes into my body of work. And so we're ever so appreciative to New Balance for their commitment and foresight and their commitment to doing this in a first-class way. Because if it wasn't first class, the kids wouldn't have had that experience.
Absolutely.
And just to tack on what Dave said, I mean, I think competition breeds success. So when you're able to have players and you know that you're competing with players that are at a similar level, I mean, that's what's going to be just a great experience for all of the players that are in the draw and just UTR in general. I mean, if you know that you're playing against a player that has a similar rating, you have a pretty good idea that you're going to have a good match. And when it comes to playing tournaments and just practicing and all those things, if you have a very competitive environment and you're playing with someone at a similar level, that allows you to improve your game and just it motivates you to get better. So I think that's what we're huge fans of it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And Lisa, I would just add the one thing, if I could spend just a couple of seconds, but I was telling someone, if you took a course in college and you really studied your fanny off and you were ready to get an A, and you did great on the exam, and then at the last second the professor said, "Oh, by the way, this is pass-fail," you'd be kind of let down because you would have done all that work. Our system of wins and losses is like a pass-fail system. It said you either win or you lose, whether you lose 7-5 in the third or whether you lose 1-1. And I think the genius behind UTR is that it's not a pass-fail course. If you do well against someone who's rated above you and you lose in a close match, you're actually rewarded. So there's a sort of aspirational, almost a sort of capillary action that tends to make people want to do more. It makes them want to fight for that last game. Even when they know they're going to go down, it still makes them fight for the last game because it rewards them.
That's a great point, and actually I've had a lot of parents tell me that once they started, or not the parent, but once the child started really watching their UTR and understanding what made it go up and what made it go down, it has eliminated the whole concept of tanking matches. I mean, kids that are concerned with building their UTR aren't going to go out there and tank a match because they know that if they fight, like you said, to the very end, they're going to be rewarded for that effort.
That's right. And that's the difference. If you can make a good case for someone eating a healthy diet of food instead of junk food, and then you can tell them you could enjoy that organic food more than you will the junk food, then you've got a healthy kid and a great system that's working. And that's really what Universal has been designed to, is to simply begin to nudge the system toward changing toward a healthier diet for all players and a more affordable environment for parents and coaches, and a more conducive to education, which comes back to kids staying in high school whenever possible. And so at every level, it's designed to sort of nudge people in a healthier direction. And it's been doing that successfully.
I agree. Dave, while we've got you on, can you talk a little bit about and I'm hoping you have this information. If you don't, just tell me, but how specifically the selection process will work with UTR for this event?
Actually, Evan may be more qualified to talk about that. Evan, are you...
Well, we talked a little bit about the geographic stuff. Yeah, we touched on it a bit, but I was hoping maybe you could talk a little bit more about the UTR aspect of it.
Well, the aspect of it is that UTR is being looked at for basically across the board. It's being used as a criteria for seeding USTA national tournaments this summer. It's been used for the U.S. National Open playoffs, which are the leads in to try to get 17 tournaments, yielding players to see if they could get into the U.S. Open qualifier. It's being used at so many levels right now to make the system better. It's being used at the ITA summer circuit tournaments. So what we've always said, Lisa, and the reason I'm being a little cautious about saying this is that we've always said that UTR is a ruler, not a rule, and that it's up to each association or institution to decide how do we use that ruler. We want to draw a straight line, that is, we want to get the seeds down properly. Universal is a great tool for that. If we want to use it as a way to exclude people, we don't think that's a great way to do it. That's why we love to see qualifiers for events, because we'd like to open the participation funnel wider rather than make it more discouraging. So we try to work with associations to help them understand how this can be more inclusive rather than exclusive. And then the USTA has been very thoroughly involved in helping set up the draw using UTR. So we've kind of left that to them, saying that's they're sponsoring the tournament. We just want to make it better.
So USTA will be making the selections for this event.
Yeah,
correct.
Evan, is that? Yes.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Yeah, that's an important point that I didn't realize. So that's good. And Dave, talk about Harvard's involvement with the New Balance High School Tennis Championships, because what a generous thing to do to open the campus up to these kids in this tournament. And, your facilities are magnificent. So thank you for that on behalf of the families.
Yeah.
You're very kind, and the check's in the mail. It's we have a donor, Robert M. Barron, who gave us these marvelous facilities, and we have always approached the situation after having been in college coaching for a long time. We really realized that university campuses are kind of the centerpiece of a lot of the best play in the United States. They are some of the most magnificent facilities, and as such, they're part of the trust of American tennis. And so, all institutions they're all faced with economic challenges. But when we're lucky enough to have donors that give generously, it feels like this is part of our role to share this back with the community wherever possible. And so when New Balance, our neighbor a mile away, we see their beautiful new buildings on the skyline. When they want to get involved, and they've been helpful to our program, we're going to bend over backwards to try to help them look good. And they did such a first-class event, Lisa, that it made Harvard look great. So we're grateful for their commitment to it, but delighted to host it and love having kids come in and be able to see one of the finest institutions in the world.
That doesn't hurt.
Ditto.
Yeah. Dave, Evan and I were talking about the recruiting aspect of the event, and the fact that there's so many colleges in the Boston area. Have you talked to any of your fellow coaches about what they saw last year and, the level of play that you guys got to witness out there from a group that isn't typically in the eye of the recruiters?
Well, I think that this is such a high-level program, Lisa, that I think all of these kids are in the interest bandwidth of college coaches. And because the Northeast and the Boston area, I think there's something like 54 colleges right in this area. It's kind of the mecca of education, and nothing intended for other areas, but it just is a huge area. So we're getting college coaches that come in, and it's a great place to watch it. It's a great place to see the kids. You see all their UTR ratings. So I think that this kind of thing is where the future is going, where on a national level we can bring the best kids together and give them great level-based play. But on the flip side is that there's not a city in the country that ought not also to have a metropolitan-based circuit of events that are level-based, that kids can enter at the right level, so that you don't have to have a giant wallet to be able to travel all over in order to get great competition against people your level and better. And it's really a matter of lining up our resources better so that we let the post-college players who still are fit enough to get through a couple of matches, if not 5 matches, just they would in France. It happens daily in France. It should be happening here in metropolitan circuits all over the country. And that's where this level-based movement will truly explode. So as I said, it's another tool. New Balance is using it to showcase a lovely national event. But I think it's also equally as good a tool for showcasing local events. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's what excites me.
Yeah, and to tack on to Dave's point, too, I think that, when it comes to college coaches, and like he said, around 54 schools in the local area, and I'm sure, as Dave knows, a lot of coaches have to look at their travel budget pretty closely, so this one's really easy on them. So you do have a lot of coaches that are able to drive over to the Barron Tennis Center and see some great competition.
Yeah,
yes.
that's a huge perk.
Yeah. And go ahead, Dave.
No, well, the one thing that I was saying, Lisa, is I think that New Balance is approaching this very strategically. One, they want to raise visibility of high school tennis, but they're also backing it up. They're not just sponsoring something; they're actually offering to programs all over the country an opportunity to get a great value. And high school tennis, unlike college tennis, often doesn't get the same kind of attention. And I think New Balance has decided to put attention on the importance of high school tennis. And so I love it when I see people supporting them. I had one of our players actually doing an internship with them because he came out of high school tennis and he believed in it, and he'll be a wonderful spokesman for it. So I think that this is all part of all of our efforts. New Balance is playing a certain role in this, in shifting this, nudging this ecosystem toward a better place. Universal is playing another role. You're playing a very special role in it, Lisa. There are a lot of people who really believe in American tennis, but it's going to take a village to right this ship. We're all trying. USTA is trying like crazy. But there are a lot of different tools that we have to pull together to make it better.
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
And I think on Dave's point, too, sorry, I keep hearing that guy in the background.
Yeah, sorry.
No worries.
I'm going to mute here. I'm going to mute mine for a second.
No, all good. Sorry. But, to Dave's point, too, I worked with, it was great. We worked an internship with one of his players this last 3 months, and he did an unbelievable job. But our focus with him was to work with high school teams. And, I think high school tennis can kind of be an afterthought when it comes to a lot of brands and just paying attention to these kids who are out there. And, New Balance looks at it as not only are you going to get great competition playing high school tennis, but those are the kids that, if you're not playing one or two, but you're playing on your team and you're competitive, you're going to be playing tennis for the rest of your life. And we recognize that. And we recognize how big a part of a tennis player's life playing for their high school team is. And so, we're working on really helping players and teams out with packages that support the programs. And, it's been a big success. And Dave, I can tell you, Alex did a great job. We were really excited to work with him.
Yeah, well, we're really proud of him and delighted to pass him your way.
Yeah, exactly.
Evan, let me just ask you, because I love to hear that New Balance is, really committed to supporting high school level tennis. Are you guys looking at, possibly sponsoring teams? And am I mistaken? I swear I read somewhere that y'all outfitted last year's winners high school team this year. Is that right?
We did do that, and I would say we're working, because New Balance offers an array of not just apparel but the footwear. That's a huge need for tennis players. Anybody who's playing frequently, they're going through shoes, and from our point of view, we look at the tournament itself as, this is what we want to be a part of. We want to really invest and give back and show that high school tennis matters and high school tennis is a big deal. And along with that, we've had a number of teams this year that have reached out to us that we've worked with to make sure that they can get whatever their needs are covered. And, obviously it's different because, like we talked about earlier, Lisa, when it comes to high school tennis, every state does it completely different. You have Texas that has a JV and all that, and then you have, cases like Florida. I know my high school team, my coach didn't even play tennis. He basically was like, hey, you go out there and tell us who should play 1 through 5. So you have such an array of levels when it comes to the high school players and different budgets. You have private schools, public schools, and And we're able to work with all different types because of the offering and because of the product and the apparel and the footwear that we're making and we're extremely confident in. We think it's a great opportunity to work with a lot of different players and show that the brand is invested in not just tennis overall, but high school tennis specifically, and use this event as really just the showcase of what we're trying to do.
Well, I love it, and I just once again want to give out the website. It's nbtennischampionship.com, and that's the main website for the tournament. It has all of the details, including a link to register for the event. Registration is open through June 18th, so you still have a couple weeks to get that taken care of. And the tournament is being held in Boston. The kids will play at the Harvard campus, but you guys have worked out a great hotel deal, if I'm not mistaken,
Yep.
for the families. And I read that you're providing transportation from the hotel to the campus as well?
That's correct.
I mean, holy cow.
We're like I said, I mean, I don't think that you're going to have a lot of people walk away disappointed, even if they lose some of their matches. I think we're trying to. It's like I touched on earlier. We're trying to not only make it a high-level tennis tournament, but to make it an experience. And you know, Bruce had such a great concept to come up with the high school championships, and for us, we want to make it just a premier event, an event that some of these kids don't forget about.
You're on the right track. I am just so impressed, and I don't know if you're aware, Evan, but last year Parenting Aces awarded a Best Tournament Director award for the first time because
nice.
I wanted to recognize, you know, the folks that are doing it right, and there are a lot of people out there doing a really good job, and then there are people out there doing not such a great job, and you know, the hope is by showcasing the ones that are doing it well and showcasing events that are doing it well, like your event, that other tournament directors will step up their game.
Yeah. No, and look, I mean, I think it's, having been to most facilities in the country, I mean, I think obviously the facility itself with the Barron Tennis Center is just amazing and just such a unique experience for players to compete at. And then when it comes to the tournament itself, I mean, we don't want to pat ourselves on the back too much because it's not done yet. We want to make sure it's a successful event, but we feel really strongly about how it's going to go, and we think it's going to be a really, really fun tournament overall.
Well, I want to thank you and Dave both for coming on today and sharing all of this information with my listeners. To those of you that have tuned in, please consider signing your child up for this event if they have played for their school this past year, and if they haven't, make sure they play for their high school next year so they can play in the 2016 event. It's an event they won't forget. And Evan, do you have any last words you want to share with us, or have we covered everything?
I think on my side we've covered everything. I appreciate you having me on, and appreciate talking with Dave a little bit, and appreciate what you're doing. I think it's great. So just seeing how involved you are and giving back and giving people a lot of information. I think it's wonderful.
Well, thank you. It's it's a labor of love. So as you said, when you're passionate about something, it makes the days go very quickly.
Yep.
And Dave,
True.
Anything else you want to share with us before we sign off?
Well, I don't want you to get a swelled head, but I would say the same thing that Evan said, is that it's that a lot of times parents are trying to negotiate a landscape that they're not experienced in. And as a college coach, I see this same thing happen year after year. But parents don't. It's like you don't get a second chance with your kids. And so when you help parents understand the landscape better with some experience, and you take the time to understand what are some of the different themes that are going on in American tennis, you're really giving them a service that they wouldn't otherwise know where to turn to. And so, and I think you do it in a very balanced way and passionate, and that kind of dialogue discussion that kind of civil examination of issues is really necessary in this kind of, I don't know, polarized world. So I appreciate the quality of your interaction with the tennis world, and thank you.
Well, you're very sweet. I've made a lot of mistakes over the last 10 years with my son and his tennis, and better that we should all learn from my mistakes and have everybody else just keep repeating them. So
haven't we all? It's like Groundhog Day. Let's do it again and make it better the next time.
Absolutely. Well, guys, thanks again. I just wish you all the success with this year's event, and I can't wait to hear after the fact. Maybe we'll have you guys back on to do a post-event analysis and fill us in on what you learned and what you hope to expand on for the following year.
Terrific.
That's great.
Thanks so much, Lisa.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you,
my
Lisa.
listeners, have a great week.
Bye-bye.
Stay cool out there, and we'll see you next week on Parenting Aces.